Hey everyone, Callum from Cagefront here. Welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, welcome to the channel. We have another recap ranking video for 2024, and we are going to be ranking the top 5 best moments of this entire year, this calendar year for the UFC. Now, these moments could be funny moments, they could be impactful moments, or they could just be outright insane moments. So let's get into it with number 5. And in at number 5, we are starting off pretty lighthearted and pretty insane. We have Derrick Lewis back in May headlining his card against Rodrigo Nascimento, KOing Rodrigo Nascimento, a consistent up-and-comer who had a lot of momentum on his side, took him out, and then Dax himself shows his bare ass in front of the whole crowd, capping off his own main event. Derrick Lewis, this is why the man is a fan favorite, and he seriously topped off that card fantastically well, and he is so marketable in that sense ever since he took out DeLima with that flying knee and took his pants off. So it was pretty much inevitable that this was going to happen after he just decked Rodrigo Nascimento in this one as well, and honestly really just cannot not put this in my top 5. What a moment for Derrick Lewis. Perfect. Now, in at number 4, we have arguably the most hated fighter in the UFC in recent history, or possibly the whole entire thing. We have Belal Muhammad at UFC 304 as an underdog, getting the last laugh, fighting Leon Edwards in his home country, beating him over 5 rounds pretty easily at that. Very anticlimactic in his fight style, so it's seriously just great to see this guy that's just looked from a lot of fans just to have so many wrongs get a right for himself, winning the title, because if he didn't win that title at UFC 304 against Leon Edwards, he was never getting another title shot again. So you got to give it up for the most hated guy in the UFC at the moment, Belal, remember the decision, Muhammad, getting that title and now being the welterweight champion with those bragging rights. Gotta respect that. Now, in at number 3, obviously, we had Derrick Lewis dacking himself in his own main event, and then we obviously had Belal, remember the decision, Muhammad, getting the last laugh for his title. So they're both pretty lighthearted moments, and we're continuing on with that on the meme side of things. We have the craziest meme that is just blown completely out of proportion this year. It is Dana White stating that Jon Jones is the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. The guy is invincible. Dana White is obsessed with Jon Jones. There have been memes flooding 2024 absolutely everywhere in some of the most outrageous takes, but also just so funny that it's come from UFC 303, International Fight Week, where Dana White's doing a press conference and a reporter asks a question that isn't even directly related to Jon Jones and the pound-for-pound ranking specifically, and then Dana White just has a complete just nutcase moment and just completely goes on this rant about Jon Jones being the pound-for-pound #1. If he gets locked in a room with anyone else, he is the one coming out. He is the most dangerous guy on earth. Anyone that goes up against him is screwed, basically. That is Dana White's bloody philosophy at this point. He will have that on his goddamn fucking tombstone at this point. He has really even gotten on board with it himself. He's caught on to it. People have asked it in other interviews and press conferences and everything, and he's just like, you know how I feel about Jon Jones.
Did I mention to you guys that Jon Jones is the greatest of all time? Did I mention that? The pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, and he's the GOAT, and you all know this.
Does he have pictures of you?
It is funny and it's understandable, but whether it's actually accurate is another question. Now, for me, obviously, looking at Jon Jones and his career, he's never been beaten. He has never been beaten. Obviously, there's been cheating scandals. His activity outside the cage, obviously, as well, has not been the greatest for his legacy.
I hate you. I fucking hate you.
But when it comes to him being the pound for pound number one, there is definitely an argument that he can be at the end of the day, to put it simply. You've obviously got other guys as well, but the pound for pound rankings is a load of shit. I would honestly implore you guys to not focus on that at all, because there's so many conflicting variables from fighter to fighter, different weight classes, different eras. I mean, John Jones is being argued against Islam Makhachev, who Islam is actively fighting in this prime era now. But then John Jones, back like 5-6 years ago, he was absolutely dominating everything, but it's the fact that he's still fighting is why there's that comparison there. So it's really just so tricky to actually give proper variables to actually make a just decision on who is the pound for pound GOAT. So honestly, I think it's a load of shit and I don't really care about it, but the meme is what we're here for, and for 2024, it was goddamn funny. And in second place, we have the Sphere, the spectacle that was the Sphere. UFC 306, a one-of-one experience. Had the highest gate at 22 million, just thereabouts, which beat the last highest grossing gate, which was UFC 205 at 17 million odd. So this is just really just a huge impact for the sport in general, and just in sports culture, because they are the first sporting event to actually be at the Sphere, which has just got everyone's eyes glued to it because it's something that we have never seen before. And looking at the event itself as well, there are amazing fights on it. Obviously the card was a little small, there was about 10 to 11 fights on it, but within those, amazing fights. We had Ignacio Bahamondes versus Manel Torres, we had Ode Osborne and Rodriguez really picking up that show in the main event, and of course the best out of any of those fights, it was not Merab and O'Malley, it was not Shevchenko and Grasso, it was Zellhuber and Esteban Ribovic. Oh my goodness, those guys put absolutely everything out there. They really put on a full display of South American and Mexican heart, and that really just ingrained that remembrance of UFC 306, just being able to make sure that obviously a lot of fighters are able to remember it because of the fights itself, not just the event and it being in that massive sphere. But obviously taking away from it, Shevchenko and Merab Dvalishvili are going to be taking away heavily from that, because it is most likely just going to be a one-of-one because of how expensive it was. And it looked fantastic, don't get me wrong, but obviously you got to be rich to be going to something like that. And I don't think that that's something that they can fork out time after time after time, because those ticket prices were dropping pretty quick at the start. But regardless, one-on-one spectacle, it was fantastic, great fights on it, and honestly, if I had the money, take my money. And moving on to first place, which is probably going to be at the top of a lot of your guys' lists as well. It's at UFC 300. Now, UFC 300, the event itself could definitely be number one just within itself, but going direct specific within it, we've got to go with Holloway KOing Justin Gaethje. I mean, if there is any moment this year where absolutely everyone was on their feet and had their jaws literally slumped to the floor, it was obviously this one. I mean, just the implications of this fight on the card, the BMF title up for grabs, both of these guys showing that they are legit BMFs, obviously, but Holloway showing a completely different version and variant of himself at lightweight at 155 pounds, which we have never seen before. And obviously after losing to Ilia Topuria now, we know that there's a breath of fresh air for Max Holloway at 155, which he is moving up to. But Justin Gaethje, obviously that's probably taken a few years off his life, which is unfortunate, but that is the game they play. And it's just the two of them being legends, both Hall of Famers for sure. But that moment in that last second, taking Gaethje out like that, that is just the most impactful moment, arguably, in the entirety, not of just 2024, of UFC history. It was just that insane and easily the best moment of 2024. I hope you enjoyed my top 5 moments of 2024 when it comes to the UFC. And if you want to see more MMA content like this, definitely check out the video on the screen. And please like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.